this and then move on. Such testing cannot eliminate all bugs of all types, but it can eliminate most of the lower hanging fruit and some of the more difficult to discover and exploit vulnerabilities. It's all about raising the bar. Now, once the organizations can actually raise the bar, they will go through all these hoops, which are quite serious for organizations or corporations or any software development company which is more than 3 developers or 10 developers, and try to integrate the fuzzing. Now, how do we actually do that? One vendor, and in this case I'm looking at Microsoft, I'm not sure this is exactly what they're doing. I collected this from talks with different people who work at Microsoft, things they write. If you look at the web and see what Microsoft actually says they do, you will see fuzzing pretty much clearly in the whole fuzzing or security testing or anything else that comes from Microsoft. So first of all, one thing that I've heard from them is fuzz each protocol on its own. They don't want to just take some sort of software and throw the fuzzer at it. If it uses both HTTP and BGP, I'm not sure if Microsoft has anything that uses BGP, then test each of them on their own and see what happens. Maximize your testing. Find all you can. Reach coverage as close to 100% as possible, which means put people on the fuzzing. Don't just run and forget, right? That's the one thing we discussed that corporations usually can't do. Microsoft is different. Fuzz whatever malicious input a user can provide. File formats, network traffic, anything that you can actually think of should be fuzzed because, hey, this is the lower hanging fruit. This is something that can be done, should be done, and there is no excuse not to do, in my opinion, again. Now, they actually do something interesting. They call fuzzing automated runtime vulnerability discovery. As in, they don't just use the random input, they feed the application some stuff that it might expect. Hey, a GET request. Wow, HTTP. Now, some stuff that this is not just Microsoft, but some stuff that we have seen when trying to sell our own fuzzing tool beyond security is that corporations or organizations require a little bit more than what, each and every one of us can build a fuzzer for ourselves and it will work great. But once it actually goes out and tries to do some more for more people who are not us, it needs some extra. So state or session-based, doing A in order to do B in order to do C, right? If we need to establish some sort of a session. Knowledge, I also call this a little bit value locking. Know what the protocol problems are. So if it's query strings or hidden fields in HTTP, custom extensions for SIP or anything else, we should probably know about this and make sure the fuzzer can actually cope. Define what a bug is, as in, if different applications can show us different bugs in different fashions, don't limit ourselves just, for example, to exceptions. That would be silly. Although exceptions means, hey, there is no false positive. Something happened here. We've seen false positives before. On Backtrack, for example, 6 months ago or 8 months ago or so, somebody said, I found this really amazing vulnerability, okay? When you run out of hard disk space, this thing crashes. Well, if you have a DOS vulnerability when you're out of hard disk space, that's a different problem altogether, and I don't know what, nobody's laughing. I guess my jokes are really, really bad. Now, we need to be able to train the fuzzer, okay? Change the fuzzing accordingly to what we find in the field and what we need to actually do. We need to tie in, and we started talking about this, and I just skipped ahead without actually finishing the sentence. I will get back to that. Tie it in with proxies if we want to, for example, sniff the traffic, build the fuzzing as we go. Again, we probably won't reach more than a very low percentage of fuzzing the protocol, but we may find stuff that we won't find by just teaching the fuzzer the RFC. So tie it in with proxies, code coverage, human auditing. Hey, we know we have a problem only when we set GET requests, and we are not sure about the code here. Can you please check only that? And can you try and please add some sort of like the word blah before your request, because only then we'll actually see them? Can you? Oh, thanks. So it actually matters that this whole stuff ties in together, and tying it all together is one of the challenges. Complete fuzzing. I'm not really sure how we all define complete fuzzing, but it's an issue. Because, hey, can we really do exhaustive testing and test for everything? By the way, For people who did not hear it at the beginning, this is not a technical lecture. If you want a technical lecture on fuzzing, this isn't it. Please don't be disappointed later on. Yes, I know, it's nearly over, but hey. So, can we really afford to do exhaustive testing and waste several months on trying on whatever type of fuzzing we're trying to do to find the bugs and every possible bug, because the printer bug in IIS would not be found otherwise? Or can we just look for what the low-hanging fruit is and find the things that are more kind of, well, duh. I didn't actually say that. Yes, we have to do exhaustive fuzzing, because can we afford not to? That said, unless we are actually software testing engineers or QA engineers, there is no reason for us not to do other types of fuzzing. There is no reason for us not to do other types of fuzzers that will test for specific issues. So catching failures, we discussed that. And finally, and this is a quote, fuzzing finds many bugs and security vulnerabilities, but it cannot find them all. That goes without saying, as hey, it's testing, it can only prove bugs exist. Now, I want to actually move forward and discuss how banks and telcos use fuzzing. So let's go over this real quick. We need to use both block-based and session-based fuzzing. Use test automation as in traffic analysis, although that will miss stuff, and then do the actual fuzzing that we are used to do. Do them both. Don't be shy. And this is kind of an issue. Can anybody actually tell me if they ever, I mean, doing this is not very difficult, but can anybody who talked to a SIP vendor actually tell me if they ever got any formal protocol description for SIP and if they weren't told it's impossible? I guess nobody here was actually involved with that, but sometimes people say, I don't know what this protocol does. We just coded it in. I mean, are we supposed to actually document every command? No way. And actually, in some cases, it's not really practical to document everything. So it's very important to do a lot of stuff together and see, hey, what's this thing I'm seeing on my sniffers now? Was that there before? And actually, just as an example, this can actually be discovered on our own if we fuzz FTP. It's not that difficult, as an example, to send all possible strings up to 4 characters and see if any new command was added. Of course, this won't cover everything. We can try and fight the machine and do things on our own, but sometimes we have to cooperate. Now, QA-level fuzzing tools, we need exceptions. We don't need code. We need to be able to jump up with a huge screen saying, there is a problem. In order to fix this problem, take this file, which saved the exception information, debugging information, whatever information you like, and send it to the developing team. Do not look further. Click next. So, simple to use. We'll finish its run in a very reasonable time frame, say tomorrow. And distribute to QA teams, as in, we can have cool fuzzers, we can have things that do stuff that's very, very elite. But having actual fuzzers that we can send to the QA teams around the organization so they can do their own fuzzing and deal with some of the stuff on their own is pretty cool. So we can either send the tools or have an infrastructure for the development or QA teams to use, which is kind of cool on its own. Now, this was actually a surprise for us, that selling fuzzers that beyond security, we found out that the vendors don't always actually want them. It's the banks, the telcos, other large corporations that actually want them, because as far as vendors go, they will reach the decision of using fuzzers or other security testing tools when they do, and when they decide to actually add them to the budget criteria under firewalls or antiviruses or whatever. But banks and telcos, I mean, if you are a bank or a telco, what did you do or any type of organization, what did you do when you were supposed to, for example, choose a web server? You looked, I mean, if you even cared about security, you would try and stress test it, right? See if it can stand up to a lot of requests. You would try to check the configuration and whatever else it is that you can do. If it's an antivirus, see if it actually catches viruses under different conditions. But basically, you would go to Bugtrack or wherever else on the web, security, wherever, and say, let's see how many other vulnerabilities this product had in the past. Let's see how long it took the vendor to actually release a patch. Now, these things are as inaccurate as can be and don't really say much, but that's all we could do. And they're now able to better decide on the security and stability of products, meaning, hey, we can test the product, come to the vendor and say, you want us to buy this? Why do you have this gaping security hole called 255 bytes in a row, A's? And I don't know, fix it, we'll consider about buying it. And then we can actually add security to the list of demands, and not just by features. For example, antiviruses add a lot of features such as spyware, jokeware, blowware, whatever, in order to be able to sell products, and then it appears on the marketing list of when we shop for antiviruses for corporations. Now I can actually say, no, we will test your product, and if it's up to scratch, we'll buy it. And this was a big surprise to us, selling Bstorm. Now, a discussion point, really, and we'll go through this kind of quickly because this is a couple of things that fuzzers can do today. Certifying products. In the past, this was very, very difficult. I mean, try to imagine having 2 or 3 reverse engineers and a couple of good code auditing teams going over some product and trying to determine if it's up to scratch to whatever guidelines it is you put in place for them. That's actually pretty cool. Hey, Dan. Are you drunk? I'm sure you'll work on it. I'll work on it. Beer for Dan. So certifications are about to show up, and not just for antiviruses, and if they discover this or that virus, or certifications for actual people, which we discussed. Hey, I'm a certified QA security engineer. 2 or 3 years down the road, this will happen, and they will know how to click next, next, next test. No, I'm not talking about QA in general. This is a very complicated subject. I'm serious. Do not belittle QA, but QA security needs to be as simple as it can be. So this is about certification, and hopefully it will show up. Now, another point is we don't actually need to have certifications. For example, a huge telco in the United States today told all the people who work with it, hey, Cisco, Juniper, you guys want to sell us your products? Well, we heard of this fucking Windows machine that I use for... Come on, guys, own me already! I bring this Windows machine with me since DEF CON 2005, and it hasn't been owned yet, to my knowledge. So maybe you're lighter than I think, maybe you just suck. And all I have to protect this machine is a very vulnerable Carrier firewall for 2002. Now, I'm serious, come on. Okay, certify your product, and use this further to do it. Dan fucking Kaminsky. Someone from 89.22, oh, whatever. Oh, you woke up now. Okay, certify your product using this or... Shut up! Okay. Someone using this or that fuzzer, use the fuzzer, test the product. If you pass and you have no problems, come to us. If you don't, fix them and then come to us. This is no actual certification, but it works. This commercial world of fuzzers has actually made a difference. And, well, that's pretty cool. Now, let's talk about it in the 3 minutes we have. And who wants to lead discussion, ask questions or whatever? Dan, shut up. He's cool, he loves me, but he will put me down, and I put myself down quite enough for this lecture, I think. So...
Questions, comments, whatever?
Daddy, you suck. You don't understand fuzzing in any way. It's all about writing this really cool fuzzer that will find all these really cool vulnerabilities that I have in my house, and I'm not going to show you because you're not lit enough. No?
Now, I have a question. I think, well, I'm not really sure what a good way would be to define those fuzzes. You mentioned you had those XML files defining the protocols. So basically you have a suite that takes a protocol definition and spits out code for a fuzzer specific to that protocol. Is there any generation tool for fuzzers?
Okay, actually just on this specific point, XML is not perfect for defining a protocol for the fuzzer because it has no dependencies in it. and many times protocols have dependencies of A to B to C again. But yes, being able to actually give